Like, how does Elon just move from house to house to house to house all the time easily? It's not like he's got a moving truck following him around. I think he just literally doesn't own anything, or he just throws it all away. Welcome back to the show that you're listening to with me, just me, in this room. So if you're watching, you can see I'm in a different room now. And honestly, it is kind of a dump, but it looks better on camera than I thought. So maybe I'll have something to work with here. This is the third time I've recorded this episode because everything right now that I'm doing is in shambles. So if the internet goes out, I'm like already emotionally committed to this is just the copy that's going to get out there. This is the take we're going to use. This is my third round. You can see, like, I don't have anybody else here. There's not a producer standing behind this camera telling me what to do. So when I mess up, I just figure it out an hour later when I messed up. And then I have to emotionally gather myself, maybe record it the next day. Anyway, now we're here. Part of the reason it's taken me so long to do this is because I moved last week. And I don't know if you've moved recently. Maybe some of you have. But it is maybe the most emotionally disheartening process you can go through in normal life that everybody has to deal with. And some people have to deal with it more. I moved like 7 times in 7 years once. I remember that. And back then it wasn't really that hard because it was just me and I had like 2 boxes of stuff and I would just go from place to place and I could fit it all in like my Prius. And then now I haven't moved in like 3 years. So I had to get a moving truck, had to get like multiple people in there, multiple trips. It took weeks to literally pack up the house, put it in boxes. It was a 10-hour moving day. Literally 10 hours. It was 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. of these dudes in my house moving stuff from one place to the next. And I moved 10 minutes down the road. It was quite the experience. And then the best part is, like a normal person, I called around maybe 5 or 6 moving companies, got some quotes. There was a wide range of quotes. You give them all the same information. It's like 20 boxes, a few beds, some other stuff. This is where we're going. And they spit back some number. And maybe we didn't go with the lowest one, but we went with like maybe the second lowest. I don't know. They're more believable or something. We did the move. And they didn't even move everything. Like I don't have a huge house. They couldn't fit everything. So either I just have like a ton of stuff, which is entirely possible, probably even probable. I have far too much stuff for somebody who has not that big of a house. Or they just don't have their system down or something else. But they couldn't move, they couldn't fit everything in their vehicle, in their truck, 10-hour day. And then they left the headboard of my bed. It is still at the house. It is still there right now, actually, if any of you guys want to go over there and pick it up. So I've been sleeping on the floor for a week in this house, which is not a great experience. Reminds me of my younger days. But I will say it is kind of nice moving to this house because now I'm renting. I don't know if you guys have ever gone from owning a house to renting. It's going backwards in society. But it's really nice because nothing's my problem anymore. It's fantastic. I made my landlord come over here and I said, I want a plug right here on the outside of the house. And he said, okay. And he sent an electrician over and they just did it. It was really nice. But this neighborhood's kind of weird. It's very strange. Yesterday, we were just like out in the room in the front of the house. I don't even know what you call it. The room in the front of the house. It doesn't really feel big enough to call it a living room. It's just a room in the front of the house. We were sitting there. Nice big windows. You can see out to the front yard. And there were like 3 families like young families with children, like 3-year-old children, and they were in our yard just chilling. Like chilling. Kids were laying on the driveway, like face down on the driveway, on the asphalt, just chilling. And we kind of opened the blinds. We definitely made eye contact with the parents. In fact, I even walked outside to get something from my car. It was on the driveway. Just kind of gave them the nod. They just looked right back at me and kept chilling. Kids were in the driveway. This happened for like literally 15 minutes. And eventually I had to get in the car and I had to just drive off. And the kids, like the parents had to wrangle up the kids, told them to get out of the driveway. Hey, the car's coming. And then they just waved at us as we drove on through. That's the neighborhood we live in. Guess we got a bunch of squatters. It's just bizarre. And maybe that's just how most people are. I don't know. Maybe that's it. You know, that kind of reminds me of, do you guys remember the Olive Garden theory? Have you ever driven by an Olive Garden that has an empty parking lot during mealtime? No, you haven't. They're always full. Why? Because everybody loves Olive Garden. But do you know anybody who goes to Olive Garden? No, of course not. Nobody goes to Olive Garden. But it's always full. It's always full. You know why? Because there's way more of them than there are of us. I don't even know who we are, but there's way more of them. And they keep Olive Garden full, and they chill in your driveway, apparently. But I'm telling you all this because, like, I didn't really care that they were in my driveway, to be honest, because I'm just renting this house. Is that okay? Is that a weird thing to say? I care a lot less because I'm renting this house. Maybe there is something to it, just being a renter. My life's a lot simpler. A lot less things are my problem. The movers too were crazy because, so they gave us this quote, and I think the quote was like for 6 hours too. So I don't know where the problem was. Clearly we told them, we gave them bad information, but then they charged me like double what they thought it was going to be. And they didn't get everything, and it took way longer. I don't know whose fault that is. I mean, maybe it's my fault. Maybe they should have a better job like vetting and asking good questions. Are you sure you have this many boxes? That's a tough job though. I don't know how you would do that. And then there's just nothing like moving also that makes you just want to throw away everything you own. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, there's just this pile of boxes right here. And I've decided that if I don't open these boxes in the next year, in this 12-month lease, if I don't open them, I'm just going to throw them away. I'm not even going to like look inside and see what I'm throwing away. I'm just going to throw them away because I don't open them in the next year. That means I didn't need them. Right? You got to have some principle in your life. Maybe that's going to be mine. I've bought far too many things this week. It's like I have stuff and now I have even more stuff because, you know, you move and it's like, oh, I didn't have this. I didn't have this in my other house that was twice the size of this house. So clearly I need to get it. I'm not even going to open half the boxes that I just moved. And it's embarrassing. Way too much stuff. You know that rule? If a rich person has this thing, medium class person's going to have it in 10 years. And then a lower class person's going to have it in another 10 years. What is that called? The Varian rule. The Varian rule holds a simple way to forecast the future is to look at what rich people have today. Middle income people will have something equivalent in 10 years, and poor people will have it in an additional decade. Look that up on Wikipedia. You know how we know that's true? It's because homeless people have iPhones now. They came out 20 years ago, almost to the T, pretty much. And yes, like homeless people have iPhones. So this is real. It kind of makes me think about, though, like, how do like really rich people move? Like, what do they do? You know? Because I feel like 2005, 20 years ago, it's very like 2005 to show other people how rich you are by owning a bunch of stuff. Do you remember the documentary Minimalism? I think it was probably 10 years ago. Minimalism. Like how you just go about life owning nothing, basically. And I think there is probably some merit to that. It's kind of an insane way to live out of a backpack, but it is possible. I think that that's probably how really rich people do it now. You know, like, what was it, the Gilded Age, when they would build these mansions and be very like grand with their showiness, and you always have the nicest whatever stuff, and that's how you can kind of tell somebody was rich. And then now you get guys like Mark Zuckerberg, who wears like a t-shirt every day. I guess that's the new age rich. But clearly I'm living in 2005 because I have way too much stuff, and I'm going to get rid of all of it when I move back out. How do rich people move? They just move. They don't really have to move because they don't own anything. That's it. That's got to be the key, I think. Like, how does Elon just move from house to house to house to house all the time easily? It's not like he's got a moving truck following him around. I think he just literally doesn't own anything, or he just throws it all away. Everything's like a single use item to him. You know, like you and I might have like single use plastic water bottles. He's got like single use, like a really nice jacket, a Canada Goose. He wears it once, throws it away. Although he's probably too rich to be like where it's cold. It's cold here in Austin, so he probably wouldn't be here right now. Or some really nice boots. Probably wears them once and throws them away. That's what it's like. A couch, sits in it one time, throws it away. I'm Elon Musk. You got a single-use plastic water bottle, I got a single-use couch. I don't know if I'd like that, though. Because you always got to make new decisions. You got to like get something new. Oh, I threw away my couch. I got to get a new one. What do I want? I really like this couch. Let's get a subscription, couch subscription. Single-use house. I slept here for a night. $10 million house. Let me just throw it away. Yeah, he'd probably sell it, though. I don't think he's that dumb. Don't you think? Like he'd sell it rather than just throw it away. 10 million bucks. Like that's got to move the needle for him somewhere. You know, I've been seeing a lot on like Instagram or LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the worst. Is, you know, the founders who always post and they're like very publicly obsessed with growth. Like everything's about like, here's the numbers. I feel like that's been a lot of the last month on LinkedIn is like people screenshotting. Here's 2024, what I did compared to 2023. More followers, more revenue, more yada, yada, whatever. And every time I see that type of stuff or just people being very publicly obsessed with growth, like the only thing in my mind I can think is you're like admitting that you're poor. You're admitting that you're poor because you don't have enough. Like it's never going to be enough. It's just a game. If I'm always obsessed with growth, when am I ever going to have enough? It's a really interesting concept, enough. Because I think that these people who are obsessed with growth all the time, which by the way, money solves a lot of problems. I don't think that money makes you happy. I think it just gives you less reasons to be sad. Okay. If you have more money, I'll just be honest. I don't think it can make you happy, but these people who always want more money, they're obsessed with growth, right? I think that they're never going to have enough. And the problem is that like when you get into that phase of always consistently looking for the next thing, you're never going to reach your end objective. Those people will never remember how to like live like a normal person. Like if they had to turn it off and they had to become like, I don't know, retired like a normal person, like they would go freaking insane. What am I going to do? Read a book every day? Oh, also my whole problem with founder mindset, at least the one on Instagram, you know, rise and grind, 5 a.m. cold bath, is like their worldview is basically that they think that everybody in the world thinks like them and everybody in the world solves problems the same way that they do. And the small number of problems that they have solved in their life really well, the method they use to solve those problems can be applied to literally anything. And that's just fundamentally not true. The vast minority of people in the world have found a business. You know why? Because most people go to Olive Garden. Most people aren't like you. Most people don't optimize their lives. They instead go squat in somebody else's front yard so their children can play on their driveway. Or here's a good one. I saw from my dad, who, like, I would say he's like doing well for himself. Pretty optimized guy, generally speaking. Definitely not of the millennial generation or whatever. What would he be? Boomer? Yeah. He watches YouTube videos on his phone, like podcasts. Like, he'll watch a podcast on YouTube, and which I get, that makes sense. This is on YouTube, I think. And you can also just listen to these things on Spotify, though. And instead of like when he's driving, instead of listening to it on Spotify, he'll like watch it on YouTube and then Bluetooth his phone to the car and listen to it from the audio from YouTube while he's driving. I've never done that. Sounds actually kind of dangerous. Not very optimized, but hey, that's what he does. So people make weird decisions and they make them work. Not everybody's a founder. Not every problem can be solved the same way you founded your company. Anyway, that's my bit with founders right now. Maybe they're good people. I don't. Maybe they're not. I'm sure there's nice people. I'm sure they do great things. I've just never posted on LinkedIn like that. I don't think I've posted on LinkedIn in like years, though, honestly. Oh, the other founder thing that kind of cracks me up is, this EOS system. Actually, I think I have the book. Wait, hold on. Traction. What does it say? Do you have a grip on your business, or does your business have a grip on you? This book, EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's like a way, if you don't know about it, it's like a way that just simplifies your business, gives you an operating system, helps people make decisions in your business so your whole thing can run more efficiently. The problem is when you run this thing like to a T, dude, it gets so whack. And it overcomplicates things to external users. I was meeting with somebody recently who was on EOS. Great guy. Maybe I'll tell him this. Actually, maybe he'll listen to this and then he'll learn what it was like for me. But we had a meeting like on a Wednesday. The Friday before, 5 days before, I got an email from this person's executive assistant. Hey, I'm just confirming your meeting for next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Dude, I haven't even thought that far ahead. I am like, that Wednesday doesn't even exist to me. You're telling me about a 20-minute meeting I have in 5 days that I need to, like, I just deleted it. Sorry. I actually think that created more complication to me because the meeting invite was already sent. There's a Zoom on my calendar. It exists. I'm either looking at my calendar or I'm not. And a meeting reminder 5 minutes before, maybe. That kind of makes sense. Like, I can argue that. But 5 days before, a one email reminder for a meeting confirmation that, mind you, we had scheduled the day before. I think that's what happens when founders try to solve problems in the real world, okay? No, you just got to think about what you're doing. Here's something I thought about. Something that somebody didn't think about, but then they did to me, but then made me think about it. If that makes sense. I have some bookkeepers for my business because I'm not very good at bookkeeping. So they do it. And this is another one of these like New Year's resolution things, I think. Like somebody in the business decided that they're going to start doing things differently in the new year. And they said, hey, we're going to send you an accounts payable report every week. I said, okay. So first week of January, I get an accounts payable report. It's just supposed to be a list of all the things that we're supposed to pay in the next month. Bills, you name it. And on the accounts payable report, it was nicely formatted, made a lot of sense. I understood what they were trying to say. It was very easily readable. These are all the good things. As a non-accounting person, it made me understand what accounts payable were. And it had an account payable. It had a bill, a credit card bill that was due in 2023. 18 months ago, mind you. Great system. You sent me your accounts payable report. You did your New Year's resolution. But did you look at the report? A credit card bill from 18 months ago, mind you, a credit card that's been closed Did you close the books that year? Come on. So I don't know how I feel about EOS or New Year's resolutions. Like I understand the point, but is there more like downside to sending out a report like that that's just wrong? Or is there like enough goodwill you're creating by showing, hey, we've got a system, we've got initiative? I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's like all the people at the gym the first 2 weeks of January. If you went to the gym the first 2 weeks of January, you'd notice there was a lot more people there than there were in the first 2 weeks of December. Because now we're on the fourth week of January and they're not there anymore. And it's so predictable. I had to change my schedule first like couple of weeks of the year because like literally it was too busy. I had to go at different times. I'm not telling you when I go. I don't want you to go when I go. What I think a lot of people can't understand, maybe I can't understand to a degree, is like the scale of decision making from one person to another person is like usually so wildly different. So vastly different. And other people will, like a lot of times, criticize other people's decision making, go, I would never spend money on that. Oh, this person's a big spender. Why did they do that? And they usually just make these decisions with like zero context. These conclusions, we'll say, with zero context. And usually the framework that the person making the decision is using is just wildly different than your own. Because like you and I would both know, right? There are people, let's say, who would pick up their family, move them across the country for a $50,000 raise. They get a base increase of 50 grand, they're gone. You and I know those people. They would do that. Like that's a real person. It's actually probably, I would say most people are probably in that camp. Now there's a big difference between going from 100 to 150 compared to 950 to a million, right? But on the surface, a lot of people will take a $50,000 raise and move. That's the only thing they need. There's also other people who won't like get out of bed for $100,000 contract, $100,000 of recurring revenue, add it to the books. They would say, no, I don't want to do that. Sounds like work. And I promise you that these two people, they don't talk. They don't understand the other's decision making. I think the person with the $100,000 who says no to that probably at one point in time would have been the other person. I think that's probably true. But I think a lot of times, maybe we're getting back to the Barian rule. Like people from one class of decision making, we'll say, it just doesn't even compute. It's over their head. How could you pass up $100,000? You know, I was talking to my friend who runs a very nice business, we'll say. And he ran a very nice business, and he left that very nice business with a very nice lump sum of money, at least what I perceive to be a nice lump sum of money. And then he like went into hibernation, and he came back, started another business. He's been doing this other business for a few years, and it's okay. It has a lot of potential, actually, like a lot of potential, like through the roof potential. But he's been doing it for 3 years, and he's been putting money into it. He's been spending money on the business because it hasn't made any profit. And he was like, you know, there's a lot of potential here, and other people see it. I see it. I agree with him. And people have offered me a couple $1,000,000 just to sell it and let them run it. And he was like, there's just no amount of money that anybody could pay for this thing that would change my life, that I'd be willing to part with this. You know, maybe $50 million or whatever, but a couple $1,000,000, even if I made a couple $1,000,000 a year on this deal, it's not going to change my life. It's just kind of an interesting mindset that I think people, a lot of average people might not be able to appreciate. Like, I think that there's probably 2 or 3 or 4 maybe phases of wealth that I could pretty easily convey pretty quickly. The first phase of wealth, in my opinion, is that you just don't even look at prices on normal day-to-day items. Anything you need that you're going to use, consume, or get rid of in the next, I don't know, even call it like a year. You just don't even look at the price. It's like, do I need it? Yes, great, done. If I need something, what is the price? Doesn't matter. I'd say that's probably the first level of wealth and that's, in many cases, that's attainable. We probably know those people. I know some really smart, astute business people who pay a ton of attention to their own books, who know where every dollar comes in, where it goes out, who know their numbers to the T, who could recite like their net margin before and after depreciation and amortization and whatever. I didn't go to accounting school, so they could tell you everything about their business. They know what all their expenses are. And then you take them like into the real world, like to a store, you have to swipe a credit card and they go, oh, and they just pick things off the shelf and they like literally don't even know how much they cost. Because again, what many people don't reconcile, I think, is that the scale of decision making that these people make on a day-to-day basis in their business is at such a different level than like, oh, I want to buy a $60 t-shirt. Cool, great, done. Well, you can get a t-shirt for $15. That's what somebody would say. Yeah, but I like this one. $60 t-shirt versus, these guys are making 4 and 5 and 6 figure decisions daily. It's just not the same like league. But I do think that when you get to a certain level of wealth, you never really I don't think you ever get outside the mindset of being thoughtful about your money. I do think that's true, actually. I don't think there's anybody who has created a level of success for themselves who get outside of the ability to be thoughtful with their money. But what I think that many people don't necessarily correlate is that when you get to a certain point and you're like trying to be thoughtful, you're trying to get the best deal on something if you're trying to buy it, right? If I'm trying to get the best deal, there's 2 ways I can get the best deal. It's the best price or the easiest transaction. And in the beginning, for a lot of people, it's really easy to like haggle on price because that's quantifiable. And when you have more time than money, like that's what you need to conserve. But as you sort of scale up the wealth, I think, which generally correlates with scaling down the time, like you have less time in your life, you start to value time more than money. And that's where you start to see people who are willing to pay a multiple for the same item to make it easier. Well, the $60 t-shirt's on the shelf right in front of me. I'd have to go find the $15 t-shirt. That is a legitimate reason to many people, by the way, to spend a premium because it's right here, right in front of me. And I can just do it. If you can just make somebody's very complex decision-making matrix into a yes-no question, then you can probably sell them like kind of anything. Let's see. Okay, home services are really like popping on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. That's everybody's side gig, right? Home services. If I go out and quote 50 jobs or 100 jobs, and I started the quote with something like, hey, I see that you need your parking lot stripes repainted because they look like shit. Here is the cost, and I can be there at this time. Would you like me to do that or not? Now, all of a sudden, I've turned this sort of vague, complex thing where I wouldn't even really know how to find that vendor if I own the property, and I know that I need it. All of a sudden, it's a yes-no question, right? Would you like me to do that for you? Yes. Great. Done. That's how you make money. So I might have to end it here. I'll be back maybe in a couple weeks. We'll keep going. Figure out something else to talk about. See you then.